ever since you said,
Ain't we
is
live
it's
though? We're doing it live.
yeah.
We're doing it live.
We're
Let's do
doing it
it.
live. We're doing it live. Thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. We are a member of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm Haize. That's Pat, the designer. What's going on? Today's episode, we'll be getting into the Chicago Bulls' final game of the season, Patrick Williams' career night, and talking about the Bulls' first round matchup against the Milwaukee Bucks. We'll get into that and more right after this.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Bulls is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Pat, we got a dub to end the season, man. And it's so funny because me and you talked. What was it, like 2 p.m., 1 p.m. today? Hey, we were like, hey man, we probably not gonna do this, we probably not gonna do that. But then you did end it with saying, watch Patrick Williams go for like 50 tonight.
Bro, I literally said, watch him go for 50. I'm going to do a half a live call, get on the other side, and we're going to be like, well, I guess I'm doing the whole game. It's literally what happened.
Yeah, man. And we'll talk about Patrick Williams' career game, but first we want to talk about this game, a game in which Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, DeMar DeRozan, Kobe White, Slice White Bread, Matt Thomas were all out this game. How we win a game with that Matt Thomas, I have no idea. No, just playing. But we get an interesting starting lineup in this game. Minnesota, they sit several players as well. The Bulls get out to a almost 30-point lead by the end of the first half. Now, one thing that maintains true with every Bulls lineup and team, we gave up 40 points in the third quarter, a big deficit in the third quarter. But overall, this game, getting to see roles from players do play in certain roles that they just have in this season. We're going to save Patrick Williams to talk about him specifically. But like, Tristan started out this game very aggressively. Tony Bradley then came in and simulated what Tristan was doing pretty well. Troy Brown Jr. had a really big game for us. What did you make of seeing these Bulls players, and why? Oh, why have they not been giving us this over the course of the season? Go ahead, Pat.
Because they're backup players and that's what they do. Like they're role players, they're guys. They can have a day. Troy Brown clearly these guys have made the NBA for a reason. They're good enough to have a day. And I think that's the part that Bulls fans have to like remember, because instantly I'm sure you saw it on your side too. Like instantly it was just like, man, why haven't we been playing these guys? They need to play more. It's like, all right, relax, y'all. Like it's still like it's Troy Brown. We saw that over a 20-game stretch. It ain't pretty. Yeah. But no, I just think here's the difference in tonight is you saw guys getting opportunities and doing something with it. And the thing that I like about it is it wasn't versus the Minnesota scrubs.
Yeah.
You were doing this versus Minnesota's essentially people that are going to play in the playoffs for them. You had Pat Beverly until he got the most hilarious ejection that I've seen in quite some time. I mean, he had to be have dinner reservations already ready to go. Because he flexed in front of the ref thinking he wasn't going to get tossed. Like, what are you doing, dog?
And the play wasn't even it wasn't even a play that it was like, it's really worth getting ejected over either. Like, what was he thinking?
Bro, that man said, stop playing with him. Like, to the ref? You just flexed on the ref? But this is one of those games, dog, where like confidence is built. And I say confidence because of like the players that were in that game. Listen, you don't want to have to rely on a Troy Brown, a Derrick Jones Jr., a Tony Bradley coming into the playoffs. But if you have to, you want these guys to be at least in somewhat of a rhythm, ready to go, understanding what's going to be in front of them. And I think you saw that. Now, granted, Io turning the ball over way too much, but the fact that he was able to go for 26, 6, and 5 had to be relied on to score versus a part of that versus Pat Beverly, where he actually did still a pretty decent job versus him. Who, whether you call him a hack or not, that's up to JJ Redick's podcast. We don't ride over there right now. But I mean, like you said, Tristan, 15 minutes, 10 and 5. Like, you saw everybody getting involved. You saw everybody moving the ball well. You saw everybody stepping up defensively. And I think that Those were the things that got you out to that lead. And again, like you saw when it started to get away in that third quarter, turning the ball over, we have 4 straight turnovers,
Yeah.
essentially. And 3 of them or something on Io. Like actually, like I looked and I was like, who the heck were you throwing that to? So there's a huge learning curve here heading into the playoffs. I saw people freaking out like, Io DeSumo played 45 minutes. Patrick Williams played 41. Why are you playing these guys this much? Because you need them for the playoff series that's coming up. I need Io to have confidence in his basketball game. I need Patrick Williams to have confidence in his basketball game. And so I think that this was I'm not going to say it's a big win, but in the last 2 games, the one thing that you can say, and whether, I don't want to say like, it's good because you got your heads kicked in the last one, but like the 3-point shot is up. And the guys who were missing a lot of those 3-point shots when Vooch would kick the ball to them wide open have been making it in the last couple of games. So I think that's something to at least feel positive about heading into the playoffs. And hopefully, it's something that keeps going. I mean, what'd you see from the night that you feel like is gonna cause that carryover?
Io. And yes, the turnovers were an issue, right? But Io is going to be our starting point guard. Like we had 2 of our starters out there, and Patrick Williams and Io. They're going to start in the playoffs for us. Io DeSumo, in what he did, taking big shots confidently. Yes, the turnovers suck. 7 turnovers is not going to cut it from your starting point guard. But again, this was a sloppy game overall. And some of the passes that he did try to make were him just throwing it, but some of them were lost. And with playing with better players, those type of things you hope go away.
Yeah.
But Io getting that confidence back. We saw Io, his confidence in his shot went in the pit over the course of since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
To see that come back, hopefully he uses this game to really build on top of that. Also, what I'll say is Derrick Jones Jr., especially because we're facing the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round of the playoffs, Derrick Jones Jr. can be very important with his length, his shot blocking, and everything else there. We saw Derrick Jones Jr. actually start the second half at the center position. Billy Donovan has said that he wants to go back to unlocking something with Derrick Jones Jr. playing backup center. So that was, again, another tune-up. Derrick Jones Jr. playing the most minutes he has since he's been back. 29 minutes in this game. He was 3 for 5, 12 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block. That's exactly the type of game that I honestly think Derrick Jones Jr. can give you. Now, he won't give it to you every night because it's just not reasonable, but he can. He absolutely can give you that type of game every night. And if you can get that type of contribution from Derrick Jones Jr. off the bench, and hopefully Kobe can get back going as well, it really does change a lot of things for the Chicago Bulls. And I really enjoyed seeing that from him as well. And then Troy Brown Jr. Listen, I've said this before. Troy Brown has a lot of potential. I don't think it's going to be seen on the Chicago Bulls because I just think they're not going to have time to give him 20 minutes a game when he's just not playing well.
Yeah.
But in a playoff series in which sometimes you may need to see something from an unexpected player, I don't know if the Bulls go to him for anything outside of, hey, we're getting our butts kicked. We just need a change of energy out there. But what he showed this game, the double-double, not with assists, with rebounds and scoring, also is like, hey, if they need to go to him, we know that maybe he can provide something for short periods of time. So, yeah.
I feel like the thing you got to remember, he gives you that vibe of like Denzel Valentine, but like I feel like Troy Brown can actually play basketball.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like it's like you said, like there's a timetable that Troy Brown might not line up with you, just like with Kobe White, just like with a lot of pieces that are on this bench where, hey, that might not line up with what we actually need right now. I don't feel like that is I don't want to say a slight. It kind of is a slight. I don't feel like that's something that we should worry about moving forward. But I think that with Troy Brown, it's like if he's here, cool. But if he's not, I get it. You know what I'm saying? So like, but heading into this playoffs, dog, like you're gonna have that. You're gonna need that dude. First off, you're going against the Milwaukee Bucks. You're gonna need that one dude that we're like, wait, where'd that come from? Right? Like you are the underdog here. You are the one trying to figure out how the heck we're going to be the defending NBA champions, just in case y'all were wondering about what their credentials were in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. You're gonna need somebody, and it could be Kobe, it could be Derrick Jones Jr., it could be somebody that we're completely unexpected. It could be the player that we're going to talk about in the next segment. But before we get into that, let's talk to you guys about Built Bar. Now, me and Pat have been telling you guys about the Puffs. First of all, the Puff is the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. It's fluffy, it's a marshmallow, but it's covered in 100% chocolate, and it's good for you. Now, you may ask, why should you be taking Built Bars? Well, first of all, Built Bars are 130 calories on average, only 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. If you're looking for something that's going to give you a pickup in the middle of your day, if you're looking for something to maybe replace a meal at some point in time, Built Bar got you covered. The thing about Built Bar is that they taste great, right? They have some great flavors. We've talked about the churro, the coconut marshmallow, the banana cream pie. If you can get banana cream pie flavored things at only 130 calories, guess what? You take it. Period. That's what you need to do. So if you compare Built Bar to any other candy bar that has 240 calories and 40 grams of sugar and dozens of net carbs, Built Bar is way better for you, and it just helps you if you want to get back on track. Now, Built Bar, they worry about the taste, and then they make it delicious first, and then they figure out how to make it healthy for you. And that's the thing that separates Built Bar from a lot of these other bars out there. So right now, I want you to go to builtbar.com. I want you to use promo code LOCK15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your order at builtbar.com. Now, Pat, we got to get into it. The other Pat, P. Will, the Paul, Patrick Williams, career night from Patrick Williams. Taking at times, he was just, first of all, Patrick Williams' 3-point shot is a thing of beauty. A thing of beauty. It really is. To find out that he started off playing point guard in high school, it all makes sense. I mean, you were talking about this before we started recording. What did you think of Patrick Williams' career night, and also career night from Io, which we can get into as well? What did you think about Patrick Williams' career night?
P. Will, first off, his jump shot is literally how you teach people to shoot a basketball. It's like, all right, keep the elbows in, come up a little bit. Now you take your time. You want to follow through with the like it is the picture perfect jump shot that you would teach at a jump shot clinic out here. So like that, it cracks me up every time because I'm confident it's gonna go in. And this is the thing, right? Like, we knew that P. Will was somebody who had the intangibles to have a game like this, but didn't really have the confidence to take that shot, or just didn't feel like he was the guy that was supposed to be taking that shot in those moments, right? You got Zach LaVine on your team. You got DeMar DeRozan. Let's be real. Like I was telling Muggs during the live call today, Patrick Williams was the 5th option on this team. Lonzo came in, score. Zach LaVine, score. DeMar DeRozan, score. Nikola Vucevic, score. Pat Will was the 5th option on this team. And honestly, I mean, if we really talking about it, like Kobe was a bigger scoring option than he was. But when you look at what he did tonight and how efficient he was, the thing that I like about it is that it correlates similarly to when he takes a few shots, right? Like we've seen nights where Patrick Williams goes 5 for 8. Only takes 8 shots. So like you're just like, oh, okay, he had a nice night. You know what I'm saying? He did. But the efficiency of it, tonight he goes 10 for 21, 12 for 14 from the free throw line, which is a thing that you don't really add in on Patrick Williams because you don't see him drive to the bucket aggressive enough on a consistent basis for him to get these foul calls. But he gets to the line, 12 for 14. He's 3 for 4 from the 3-point line. He's always giving you the defense. He's like, this is the player that AK saw and said, you have the ceiling to be this next level monster. But it's about, can you do it? Will you do it? How often can you bring this beast out of you? And are the people on your team hindering you from turning into that person? That's kind of a lot of the question marks we have with P. Will. I think listen, they spent the 4th pick in the draft on him. You bet a lot on this kid. So like for me, seeing this from him, this is the game, right? They always ask on I think it's All the Smoke. What was that moment where you knew you were supposed to be in the NBA? What was that moment that you knew? This needs to be P. Will's moment. This needs to be the moment where, because he really hasn't had a moment like this where like, it's yours. It's your shot. It's your ball. It's your game. Go do something with it. And Billy in his post-game show was talking about, he's like, I was throwing a lot at him. And he was able to handle it. He was able to process it. He was able to take it out onto the court and do what he needed to do with it. And so for me, I think that the biggest thing that the Bulls have in Patrick Williams is that you now know this is inside of him. How do you get it consistent on a consistent basis? And I think, I'm going to be real with you, if we got any shot at this, when we talk about this Milwaukee, you dig, he got to be this guy. he's got, like, you hate to say that, right? Second year, you have to be this guy. What are your thoughts on it?
I completely agree with you, and I said this over on my live stream, is that if this doesn't wake Billy Donovan up to say, "Hey, look, our offense stagnates now when we have to go through DeMar." Like, the teams know what to do; they know what spots he's going to go into, especially facing against Milwaukee, facing anything, and building the confidence in the kid. If the Bulls decide, and I don't expect it to be from start to finish in the game, but to have a quarter, to have a stretch where they completely run the offense through Patrick Williams, they allow DeMar, Zach, Io to play off the ball and really use Patrick Williams and Vooch as anchors and to really get everybody else going. You're talking about a team that at that point, because it's so hard to stop Zach LaVine when he's off the ball and he's shooting well.
Yeah.
DeMar being able to come off pin downs and really just shoot, right? Not have to do the bunch of dribbling, the four or five pump fakes, and then hope to get a foul. They're more dangerous than. We haven't really been able to see that since Lonzo was here. And seeing Patrick Williams make the passes that he did in this game, see Patrick Williams have like go through progression. I get that's more of a football term, but to know where the players were going to be,
it still applies, yeah.
To where they were going to be, all of that is I saw some things from Patrick Williams that I have not. While I believed in Patrick, I was never one of the people who doubted Patrick Williams' potential. This was the first game in which I saw it all come together. You saw the shooting, you saw the putting the ball on the floor, you saw the aggression and getting the foul on, you saw the passing, you saw the defense, you saw everything from Patrick Williams in this game. And I don't know how anyone seeing this game and it didn't eliminate some form of doubt. One game shouldn't eliminate all the doubt that anybody has in the player. But this was that first game for me that it was just like, this, if we get this, even if we get 80% of this for a whole season, do you know how dangerous that's going to be with Lonzo out there, with everyone out there? But to get back to your actual question, this is definitely something that can be unlocked, and I think you should cultivate Patrick Williams to develop into a player that you could be able to run everything through, and that completely changes so much for this team.
Do you have to, like, do you feel like if P. Will's going to be this guy, Billy Donovan has to run plays for him? Or do you feel like because of the talent that's on the team right now, you have to find your way in this offense? Because a lot of what we're seeing is like that this was his opportunity where Billy was like, hey, listen, it's your show. I'm sending the plays between you and Io. We're setting it up for you. We're running you off screen, stuff like that. But you're not going to have that opportunity with Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and Vooch on the floor. You're just not, right? Like, you have to play a different role. You see tonight, 35 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. That's not the role Patrick Williams plays when Vooch is on the floor, when Zach is on the floor, when DeMar is on the floor, because he has to help with the rebounding battle. He has to get those offensive boards. Do you feel like for P. Will to work, you have to run plays for him, or is it just not his time to be the number one on this team? Is it not his time, right? Like, what's going to be the best key to success for him?
It's going to be Patrick Williams, because they're not. And, shout out to AK in the chat who says that in Billy's press conference, he actually said that P. Will need to find his moments for offense without running plays for P. Will. So with that being said, Patrick Williams is going to have to make Billy Donovan, Zach LaVine, and everybody out on the court say, hey, no, we need to give it to Pat. Yeah, we need to give it to Pat. We need to empower Pat. If the players get behind that and they realize, hey, if we got any chance in this series, if we got any chance in this game, we need to give it to Pat, Billy Donovan will come through with that. He has to conform at that point. But Pat has to be aggressive. He also has to call for the ball. Maybe he's not going to get offense called for him, but he needs to speak and say, hey, I got a mismatch. Give me the ball. He needs to speak out and be loud with that. Pat, what's your cash app? We're getting asked for our cash apps in the thing. What's your cash app? It's just Pat the Designer?
Oh, my at Pat the Designer.
All right.
It's the same thing for everything.
Yeah, same with me. Everything is at CEO Haize. So I just dropped it in there for y'all.
Wow, shout out to y'all.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's what we need to see. Patrick Williams has to be aggressive, whatever form that takes. He has to be, and especially, I know he's going to get we expect him to get the defensive assignment against Giannis. We expect him to call that. And so maybe that does eliminate some of the opportunities for him to have offense called for him. But Pat has to be aggressive in his opportunities. He has to take the shot confidently. He has to call for the ball when he has mismatches. He also has to sometimes you got to go out there and get a rebound and dunk it and get some energy up. Patrick Williams has to do everything, so that's what it is.
And I think that's the biggest thing for me, right? When we're talking about P. Will, like he's the 4th pick in the draft. I get it, but you got to show me you don't just get those moments. Listen, DeMar DeRozan walked in here. He's been to an ECF. Zach LaVine's proven he's one of the best scorers in the NBA. Nikola Vucevic has been to the playoffs and led his team to the playoffs. You don't just get to walk in and because you're the 4th pick in the draft and AK believes in you, you got to show me that on the court. You have to show me that more than just one night. Because listen, I've seen Kobe drop 30 multiple nights. Still don't believe he's consistent. Can you show me that you have this fire in you all the time? Because it was the moment, man, what a ball at. He came up the court, got the ball. Io looked at him. He said, "Get away from me." And took off. He probably didn't say get away, but he just...
That's another thing that I want to point out before we go on to our next break.
God.
Is that everything, even me, one of the biggest critiques people have is that Patrick Williams does not have the best lateral quickness, which he probably still doesn't. But I'll say this: Patrick Williams with a head of steam, with his size,
scary.
Don't nobody need to see that.
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary.
You said, go ahead.
Hey, man. If y'all was betting on Pat Will, then y'all need to get on betonline.net, man. It's your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. If you hey, listen, I don't know what the money line was, but I'll tell you this: if you had checked it out on betonline.net, I bet you would. I bet you the over would have came in tonight, baby. So check that out on betonline.net. Find all the latest sports development, league news, including this year's NBA playoffs, and start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today and use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline, where the game starts.
All right, Pat. So, next up, Bulls, first playoff series since 2017. Milwaukee Bucks, Chicago Bulls. Milwaukee Bucks have home court advantage. People are not giving us any chance in this, Pat. Let's talk about it, man. What do the Bulls need to do in the first round against the Milwaukee Bucks?
Win. No. You have to. One, the biggest key is going to be establishing Nikola Vucevic down low. I know everybody's sitting here and just because of Vucevic's last 4 games, he's played pretty poorly, including one game against the Bucks. But here's the thing. What did we see the Bulls do when they won before this game? You absolutely had to kick that mug out to Vooch or down to Vooch and let him move the ball around and start your offense. Also, the reason that you saw these guys getting so much tick in these last couple of games and Billy trying to get the shooting right on this team is because you got to be able to knock down shots. Legitimately in that Milwaukee Bucks game. How many times did I say it? If y'all watched me live on the Windy City Breeze when we did the live call of it, the Bulls played great defense for about 3.5 quarters. The Bulls rebounded well. The Bulls covered Giannis really well. They missed every shot Vooch passed out of the post, and everybody was like, why isn't he dominating? Because the three-point shooter's supposed to knock that down when you're sitting wide the heck open. You have to get down low. And I'm not saying I want to see Vooch down low, absolutely just dunking on us. Not like if you can do it, right? Like, but how do you get a big lead? How do you get ahead of the Milwaukee Bucks? You have to knock down shots because they've made the decision already in the last 2 games we've seen it to absolutely give you those 3-point shots. The only way you're going to kill them and make them change what they want to do is by knocking those shots down. It changes the defense they have to play. It changes how they play inside. It changes what DeMar DeRozan is able to get because DeMar DeRozan has basically been null and void because he hasn't been able to get those open looks going to the bucket because everybody's in there. And I don't care if everybody's in there. If Giannis is in there, we got a problem in the middle right there. He's one of the best, if not the best, defender in the NBA. When you're down there and you get double teams coming in on Vooch because they don't care that Kobe White's open, they don't care that Patrick Williams open, they don't care that Ayo Dosunmu's open, That is why you see this team struggle, because if you're not knocking down those shots, it takes away the mid-range, it takes away the paint, and there's nothing you can do once those things are gone against the Milwaukee Bucks. You have to get Vooch going early.
I agree with everything you said. That, like, everybody, I don't know there's people in chat, and I agree with them, right? Patrick can be a X factor. Hell, Alex Caruso can be an X factor. There's a lot of players that can potentially be an X factor. But for any of that to even be a factor, right? To Vooch, we have to get Vooch established down low. We have to.
Yeah.
And some of that is on the coaching staff to continue to go to continue to make him a threat. Because one thing that we've seen very consistently since the All-Star break is that Vooch, even if he does get going in the first half, Billy Donovan goes to him sparingly in the second half. We need to make them guard Vooch for a full 48 minutes. Every minute that they're out there, they need to know that Vooch is a threat to hit that hook shot on them. If nothing else, Vooch has to play aggressive, and the coaching staff has to go to him. Now, outside of that, like you said, hitting the shots, we have to shoot a much better percentage. The 25, the 18, the 22s, the 30s, that percentage from three-point range is just not going to cut it against the Milwaukee Bucks. It's not. It has to improve. I don't know. Patrick Williams' three-point shot is looking legit. If Kobe can get going, Io looked legit in this game. If those players can hit the open shots, because they were getting open threes, right? It wasn't just like the Bulls weren't just getting open three-point shots and they were taking difficult ones. That's why they were shooting a bad percentage. They weren't hitting even the open three-pointers. If they can hit those open three-pointers, hit some of the tough ones, that completely changes with this team. It literally makes it a whole entire different game. On top of that, another thing that we need to see as well is Zach has to be Zach LaVine. And whether that means that he can give us that for a quarter, whether that means he can give us that for a half, Zach, you remember at the first 15 games of the season, Zach picked his spots. It were literally times where Zach would take over the game for a 10-minute stretch and score 25 points in that 10 to 12-minute stretch, and then go back to playing off the ball, passing the ball, things like that. Once those things went away, people forget about it. People are quick to point to the Lonzo thing, which definitely has had an effect as well. But people forget, too, how much Zach was able to just be a passer, how much he was able to maybe not get the assist, but make the pass before the assist with him moving the ball. We need to get those things back. One thing in this game that we saw very early on is the ball movement. From those, if the Bulls can get to ball movement, it makes it so much dangerous as well. Ball movement, hit open shots, feed Vooch. That needs to be the 3 bullet points of this team going into the series against the Milwaukee Bucks, in my opinion.
I agree. And here's the thing. Vooch, you got to knock down your shot too, baby. Like, listen, I get Brook Lopez is large. Brook Lopez is actually a really good defender. And he's turned himself into an even better offensive player than I think any of us ever thought he would ever be. Like, y'all probably don't remember there's a lot of people probably don't remember when the Lopez brothers came out of college. They were legitimately like,
Robin was defense and Brook was offense.
Yeah, you knew Brook was better.
Yeah.
But you looked at both of them like, they're dudes.
Yeah.
Like, they're large dudes, but they're dudes. You didn't expect Brook to be like, hey, I'm a lockdown defender and I'm going to knock down this shot in your face. Like, they have changed their games dramatically in the NBA. So, like, but even so, Vooch, you have to dominate the paint. And it's something, I'm going to be real with you, I don't know if we'll get that from him because we haven't seen him do that on those bigger centers because when he gets those bigger centers on him, he knows they get stuck. The better play is actually, let me kick this mug out here. But you have to have people that you can rely on to knock that down. Guess where that works? That works on the Golden State Warriors. Because on the Golden State Warriors, I got nothing but shooters all around me. That works on the Memphis Grizzlies. I got shooters everywhere. Right now, the Bulls don't have shooters everywhere. At least we think. But in these last couple of games, which is why I said I wanted to see the Bulls, when we talked about rest the rhythm, I wanted to see the Bulls go with rhythm because now going into this playoff series, right? And like the video if you agree, if you're in here on the live. Now going into this playoff series, I feel at least a little bit better that maybe they built up a little bit of rhythm on the jump shot. Maybe Io was shooting 26%. From the three-point line, he was legitimately he was shooting 26% before the last game. In tonight's game, Io went 3 for 6 from the three-point line. If you go 3 for 6 from the three-point line, now I don't know if he's going to give us the other contribution he did, but at a minimum, if you go 3 for 6 or 4 for 8 from the three-point line, they can't guard you the same. Giannis has to, at a minimum, leave the paint for a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And all the time that you get Giannis out of the paint is better for your 2 stars that love to go to the paint. And like you said with Zach, I hope this week off does wonders for him, bro. I
And
really
Alex
do.
Caruso's back, by the way. Let's throw
And
Alex Caruso.
Caruso's back. But
Yeah.
I really hope that this week off does wonders for him, because we haven't seen Zach with this much time off since he really went out and got the diagnosis. And since then, he's been out there giving us everything he's got, playing through the knee injury, fighting through the pain he was feeling on the court and the discomfort he was feeling on the court, because he knew like 60% of me is better than 0% of me not being out there.
This is a fact.
And so, like, you have to, like, I hope this week off, this is the most time he's going to have off. I really hope that it helps him at least get back to his old self. And I mean, if you're going to win, you're going to have to win quick. If you're going to win, you're going to have to win a game in Milwaukee, probably take 2 in Chicago, and hope to God you can get another one in Milwaukee.
Yeah. Also, shout out to Locked On Astros who joins the chat. Thank you for joining and supporting us from other Locked On family. But one thing they need you remember, was that Karate Kid 2 when Mr. Miyagi was healing Danny's son's knee with that whatever he was doing? We need that on Zach. Like literally, we need somebody just hands on Zach Levine's knee this whole week to help heal that up. But yeah, man. Listen, I know this is going to be difficult for this team, and I understand it. And it's not going to be
underdogs, baby.
Yeah, for sure. But the Bulls need to come. I would not be surprised if after how the Bulls got booed off their home court in their final regular season home game, if they can come out with But in my opinion, they have to steal the first one in Milwaukee. If they can do that,
yeah. Because it depends on how you see. This is the thing. It depends on how you lose, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you lose the first, by the way, like you said, shout out Locked On Astros, White Sox Nation, though. Appreciate that, brain. If you lose the first one close, right, it can build confidence.
That's okay.
Like if you lose the first one in a fight, you can go into the second one feeling good about it. But you do have, I think the only way you get anything in this series is if you get one of the ones in Milwaukee. I don't feel great going into this series, but I feel like at a minimum, right? Like I'll ask you before we get out of here. If you come into this and you get beat 4-2, but you compete every game, you fight tooth and nail, you do everything you can to win, do you feel good about this team heading into next season, or do you come out of it like a lot of Bulls fans are right now, like you got beat in the first round, you were the first seed, this is a failure?
No. If the Bulls have a competitive Bulls have a competitive 4-game series, but every game is competitive, let's say there's one blowout in there, but 3 out of those 4 games are super competitive, that's a win for me. This is always about building. And the confidence, the way that you accelerate Patrick Williams, Ios, and Zach LaVine's that Lonzo's not here, unfortunately, but you accelerate their growth and their progress through that. I think that's enough. Like we know the Bulls are going to make AK and Eversley going to make some changes this offseason with the bench specifically. I don't expect anything to change in the starting lineup.
Yeah,
but that's enough for me to walk away from this series and think from this season and say, listen, the Bulls had 46 wins, had anybody said that the Bulls were going to have 46 wins and been the number 1 team in the East for a little while in there, most Bulls fans would have taken it. It just sucks that the way that it happened how it happened down the stretch. But with all that being said, that I just need to see them compete. I don't want to see any. If it's 4 games of blowouts, I'm going to be pissed.
I'm gonna be a little. It's like I'm not gonna be. I'm gonna be upset. I'm not gonna be pissed because I'm also like going into this like those are the freaking NBA champions. It's the one team I didn't want. Yeah. It's the one team I didn't want. Why? Because they've won a championship before. Even if we put their backs against the wall, they know how to get out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like they know how to get out of it. It's
absolutely.
It's tough, my boy. It's tough, but hey, we at a minimum. I wish I had some baby powder down here, man. I'm gonna make sure I got baby powder for the next one because we're in the playoffs, baby. Woo! Playoffs.
Oh man, that is hilarious, man. But yeah, that's it from us for today. Pat, unless you got anything else, man, go ahead and give the social media, man. Let's get ready to head up out of here.
Yeah, man, follow me. Would it have been weirder if I had baby powder down here ready to
I
go?
think that would have been weirder, bro.
It would have
I
been
think that
weirder if
would've
I
been
was just
weirder.
like,
Yeah.
hey, let me
If you
just
say, I got this baby powder right here all
what
ready
were
to go.
you
Yeah, that would have been a
doing
little
with
weird.
that, dog? What
Yeah.
don't worry. These leather chairs get hot, brother. No,
Yeah.
follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. That's at PATTHEDESIGNER. Yes, I did go to public school, but they taught me how to spell. If y'all want to shoot some Cash App love, man, it's at the same thing. Shout out to y'all.
And you can follow me at CEO Haize, at CEO Haize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen, not just today, but every day. Now, for your second listen, go over to Locked On NBA. From the first jump ball of the play-in tournament to the last possession of the finals, Locked On experts take you deep inside the playoffs with insight and analysis affecting all 30 teams over on Locked On NBA. Thank you for your continued support of everything as we take this off. Listen, we adding some more flavor in here. It's going to be more and more as we get to the off season and everything. But thank you for your support as we've taken over Locked On Bulls, man. We love you guys. We out of here. Peace, y'all.
JV with a dub.
JV out.